Meditation is simply about being yourself and knowing something about who that is. It's about coming to realize that you are on a path, whether you like it or not, namely, the path that is your life. Meditation may help us see that this path we call our life has direction, that it is always unfolding, moment by moment, and that what happens now in this moment influences what happens next. If you do so, maybe you will be in a better position to chart a course for yourself that is truer to your inner being, a soul path, a path with heart, your path with a capital P. The path of life. It's one we're all walking. As I speak these words, I'm moving forward on mine. And as you listen, you're moving forward on yours. Most of what we encounter along this path is beyond our control. Challenges, surprises, changes. They arrive whether we want them to or not. But as John Kabat-Zinn shows us, meditation can shift the way we walk. It helps us see that each step matters, that this moment shapes the next. And when we recognize that, we gain the chance to walk with intention, to choose a direction that feels true to our inner being, aligned with our heart, to move with the waves that come our way, a path with a capital P. So as we begin, I'll leave you with just one question. Are you here now? All right, welcome back to the I Am Here Now podcast. In this episode, we turn again to the work of John Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer who helped bring mindfulness into the modern conversation, a scientist, teacher, and the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction. Kabat-Zinn has spent his life showing that mindfulness isn't some lofty idea. It's a practice for everyday living, healing, and simply being human. His book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, is one of the clearest invitations into that practice. It's not about seeking perfection or escaping life's messiness. It's about remembering that the present moment is always enough and learning to meet it with openness. This is one of those books that I couldn't just read straight through. My copy looks like a collage of sticky notes, scribbles, underlines. Every page seemed to spark something. And that's really the gift of this book, but in some ways it's also the challenge. Narrowing down what to share with you here wasn't easy because there's so much worth really sitting with. It was tough to decide, but what I realized is that in order to truly do this book justice, I need to slow down and focus just on one section at a time. And that's why I chose to break down just part one of the book, which is titled The Bloom of the Present Moment. And I'm doing this across a mini series of episodes. And honestly, I have a strong feeling that this won't be the last time that I come back to Wherever You Go, There You Are. It's really that rich. So across these 3 episodes, I'm sharing the themes that spoke most deeply to me. And in the first, we explored what it really means to bloom in the present moment. And now in the second episode, we're moving into that next theme, learning to move with the waves. That brings us to one of John Kabat-Zinn's most well-known insights. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. It's such a simple phrase, but it captures something profound about mindfulness. Life doesn't stop bringing challenges. The waves keep rolling in. What changes is how we meet them, whether we're fighting against the tide or learning to surf. So, going into the first chapter I want to talk about, it's literally titled, under John Kabat-Zinn's well-renowned insight, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And John Kabat-Zinn starts this chapter by saying, one way to envision how mindfulness works is to think of your mind as the surface of a lake or of the ocean. There are always waves on the water. Sometimes they are big, sometimes they are small, and sometimes they are almost imperceptible. The water's waves are churned by winds, which come and go and vary in direction and intensity, just as do the winds of stress and change in our lives. which store up the waves in our mind. People who don't understand meditation think that it is some kind of special inner manipulation which will magically shut off these waves so that the mind's surface will be flat, peaceful, and tranquil. You can't artificially suppress the waves of your mind, and it is not too smart to try. It will only create more tension and inner struggle, not calmness. That doesn't mean calmness is unattainable. It's just that it cannot be attained by misguided attempts to suppress the mind's natural activity. And I'm going to take a pause here because really, this person that John Kabat-Zinn is describing, I was one of these people who John Kabat-Zinn is talking about here. I was someone who didn't really understand meditation and thought that it was a kind of inner manipulation, which would help to shut out the waves from coming into my life. But as John Kabat-Zinn demonstrates, that trying to shut out these waves will only lead to more tension and lead to the waves growing in size. And that's something that I can reflect on in my own life. The more I tried to shut out the waves from coming, the more I thought that meditation would help me to shut out these waves, the greater they grew, because I thought that meditation was going to help me to shut this out. But when it didn't, I would only get more angry, more frustrated that I wasn't able to cut out the waves of life from coming. So I think this is an important point that John Kabat-Zinn is pointing to. We cannot stop the waves. And that is not the goal of meditation. But what he says is that the goal of meditation is really about understanding the nature of the mind, to understand the nature of when the waves come in, how our mind reacts. It's about knowing that the waves and the wind will naturally come. And what is important is how we work with that. So, in order to really move with the waves, we need to learn how to be still and to not try to change anything that is in the present moment, but rather to hear them, experience them, and allow them to be so that we can move with the changing tide. And as John Kabat-Zinn illustrates with this next chapter titled The Non-Doing Paradox, there's a sense of movement that takes place when we are still. So jumping into this next chapter, The Non-Doing Paradox, John Kabat-Zinn begins the chapter by saying, the flavor and the sheer joy of non-doing are difficult for Americans to grasp because our culture places so much value on doing and on progress. Even our leisure tends to be busy and mindless. The joy of non-doing is that nothing else needs to happen for this moment to be complete. The wisdom in it and the equanimity that comes out of it lie in knowing that something else surely will. So, I guess from this first section, for you, the listener, I'm assuming that a lot of you are going to be American. How many of you guys can relate to this? Because I knew I could. I think us being a part in American culture, doing, action, progress is just almost innate in the way we think. We're constantly thinking about what else can I do? What else can I do to lead to more progress? And really, this leads us into what I like to call as busyness. It's really just busyness, but we're not actually moving the needle. We're not actually getting things done in a purposeful and an intentional way. And so this is kind of then what John Kabat-Zinn is pointing to. There is a sense of joy in non-doing, in allowing what is to be and in not trying to change it. But, it goes against what feels natural to us culturally. I don't know about you, but for me, there's almost this anxiety with non-doing, a feeling that I need to do something or else I won't be able to get to where I want to be in the future. I think through a simple mindset shift, there is a reassurance that comes from non-doing that can ease this anxiety. And John Kabat-Zinn kind of talks about that in this next part of the chapter. He begins by saying the only way you can do anything of value is to have the effort come out of non-doing and to let go of caring whether it will be of use or not. Otherwise, self-involvement and greediness can sneak in and distort your relationship to the work or the work itself so that it is off in some way, biased, impure, and ultimately not completely satisfying, even if it is good. So the only way we can eliminate this self-involvement, this greediness, and ultimately the result of it never being enough for us, the only way we can really get beyond this is through us committing to our actions coming out of a place of non-doing. And that is the paradox. The paradox is that our best work comes when we are not trying to do our best work. Our best work comes when we're not trying to do anything, create anything. Our best work comes when our effort originates from a place of allowance, a place of non doing. For me, this was really a profound finding. You know, I think the whole time growing up, I believed that there was always something that you needed to do and that your energy, your focus should be focused on what you are doing. But as John Kabat-Zinn says, our best work comes when we are non-doing. And for me being an athlete, I always kind of reflect back to like my playing career. When I performed my best on the football field was when I wasn't trying to make a play. I was just allowing the plays to come. And I trusted my body to just be able to react. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't trying to do anything, I was just being. And I think in a similar way, this is exactly what John Kabat-Zinn is pointing to. Our best work comes out of non-doing. So, to move with the waves, we must understand and embody this paradox. The only way we can move authentically with the winds of change is if we move from a place of non-doing. It takes humility, and it takes us letting go of our habit of self-involvement and self-acknowledgement. And John Kabat-Zinn does a great job illustrating this letting go of the self-involvement and self-acknowledgement in his next chapter, which is titled Non-Doing in Action. So in this next chapter, John Kabat-Zinn begins by saying, non-doing can arise within action as well as in stillness. The inward stillness of the doer merges with the outward activity to such an extent that the action does itself. Effortless activity. Now, for you athletes who are listening to this, how well does this kind of almost reflect or remind your guys' self of when you're in a flow state? The inward stillness of the doer merges with the outward activity to such an extent that the action does itself. This almost seemed like poetry to me because for me, this is what the flow state is. It's when you are not trying to do anything and the activity just meets an inward stillness and the action almost just takes care of itself without the doer even being involved. Effortless activity. John Kabat-Zinn continues from this point by saying, there is no exertion of the will, no small-minded I, me, or mine to lay claim to a result, yet nothing is left undone. Non-doing is a cornerstone of mastery in the realm of activity. And, this is something that is a battle. It's a true battle because it is one that can be very hard to see. The I, me, or mine. Our ego can easily camouflage itself and hide in ways that almost seem unnoticeable. But the only way that we can reach our highest potential when it comes to performance, the only way we can reach non-doing in action is when we are able to recognize this, let go of the attachment and our arrogance and our need for credit that is limiting us, and moving forward and allowing the action to just take care of itself. I think so often there's a part of us that wants that credit. We want to be the doer. We want to be the person making things happen. But the only way things truly happen is when you allow them to happen naturally and just organically from you. And when we are able to let go of our need for self-acknowledgement, when we have the humility to allow the action to take care of itself without our need to be involved, it is then that we are able to have effortless action. And as John Kabat-Zinn points out, this is the cornerstone of mastery. And for me, this is the cornerstone to just being in flow with our lives. And kind of going on from this, John Kabat-Zinn talks about this. I think it's a story from third century China. Let me make sure I got the author correct. Chuang Zhu, Chuang Su, Chuang Su. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Chuang Su, I think. But pretty much the story is about a prince who's learning from his cook. The prince is really wondering how the chef learned to cut the ox in such a mastered way. And the chef is kind of explaining how he got to this level of mastery. And really, I think that this story, once again, reflects how to tap into a flow state, how to tap into the present moment, and how to really tap into this level of mastery when you are in flow. And so the chef says, when I first began to cut up oxen, I would see before me the whole ox, all in one mass. After 3 years, I no longer saw this mass. I saw the distinctions. But now I see nothing with the eye. My whole being apprehends. My senses are idle. The spirit, free to work without plan, follows its own instinct, guided by natural line. By the secret opening, the hidden space, my cleaver finds its own way. I cut through no joint, chop no bone. When we are able to get out of our own way and allow the action to take care of itself, allow our bodies to drive, it is then that mastery can be found. It is through that we tap into a flow state. And it is through this that our best work is truly possible. And funny enough, this is all done through non-doing. It's done through the removal of ourself. It's done through just letting the action happen. And your body is just the organism orchestrating it, but you are not involved. And I know this kind of sounds maybe a little meta, but I think anyone who has been in a flow state before can almost know exactly what this is pointing to. When you're in flow, there is no you in that circumstance. It's just the action happening. And honestly, I mean, for me, like this is where the magic happens, when I'm not doing the doing and the doing is just taking care of itself. And so, to move with the waves that comes at us in our life path takes an extreme sense of humility and selflessness. It's a kind of quiet strength that is born out of non-doing. It's not about forcing life to bend to our will or fighting against the tide. It's about softening. It's about trusting that when we stop thrashing and resisting, we can actually float. We can ride the waves that come at us. And maybe that's the real gift of mindfulness. Not changing the waves, but changing our relationship to them. Because, like we said, like John Kabat-Zinn says, the waves will never stop coming. Challenges, setbacks, fears, they're always going to come at you. But when we meet them with presence, we remember that every wave also carries us forward. Every swell is an invitation to learn, to grow, to let go, and to begin again. So as you leave this episode, I invite you to notice your own waves. What are the waves in your life right now? Instead of asking how to stop them, how to prevent them from coming, the waves of change, the waves of fear, the waves of doubt, of anxiety, the question I want you to ask yourself is, how can I learn to surf them today? Life is happening right now. And if you're here for it, like fully here for it, fully here, fully open, then you already have everything you need to ride. So if there's one thing you take away from this episode, I hope it is to learn how to surf with the waves that come at you. And once again, this is done through non-doing, through taking your ego, through taking yourself out of the equation and letting the doing take care of itself. This is how flow is accessed. This is how mastery is accessed. And, this is how you're really able to perform, but more so live in the most authentic, fullest, and purest version of you. So, once again, I hope you guys find grounding. I hope you guys find presence. I hope you guys find the moment here and now. And per usual, aloha.